former assistant FBI director. He is right here in New York. James, did Comey fold?
Well, I think he folded a long time ago. I mean, I've been talking with you about this for well over a year. You know, the fact that he was acting strange, doing things that were not, you know, things the FBI should be doing, not putting people before a grand jury. I mean, the notion that Barack Obama was going to let Hillary Clinton, you know, get indicted, you know, that was obvious to anybody that knows anything at the very beginning. So, I mean, the fact that he changed some language, fine, but it's like you and I building a cake, putting a cake in the oven with no flour, no eggs, and no sugar. And now we're talking about this minute thing about the salt shaker maybe wasn't right. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Okay. It's just with the whole abundance of things that this guy did. You know, he was a political, turns out, unfortunately, he was a political hack.
You think that flat out James Comey sided with the Obama administration, sided with Hillary Clinton? Flat out, you think that?
Yeah, and I think he maybe started out in an honorable way. I mean, his opinion of himself was, you know, sky high. You know, just unbelievable guy with
really?
Just the arrogance about him, yeah. And that got him in trouble because I think he thought he was Superman, you know, and he found out that he wasn't. And of course, the dogs are always going to bite your heels when you're dealing with the Clintons. I mean, look how long the public, the American people, have been dealing with the crime syndicate known as the Clinton Foundation.
Strong, you know, stuff.
James. No, seriously. I mean, there's no question about it. You just look at what's in the public domain. I mean, the Clintons have been, I mean, taking advantage of them, of their stations in life for so long. I mean, back in the 95, 96, somewhere around there, Bill Clinton let our guidance technology for our ICBM missiles go to China. I mean, you know, things like this that are very devastating. Now, today, we sold 20% of our uranium. I mean, come on. For what reason? Why was that? Okay. And why all of a sudden does someone appoint this guy, the Deputy Attorney General, you know, what's his name? I forget his name even.
Rod Rosenstein.
Yeah. Rosenstein, yeah. And what does he do? As soon as he gets in there, he appoints a special counsel. Who is it? It's Bob Mueller. Roll the tape backwards, okay? Bob Mueller is the FBI director, right? Rosenstein is the U.S. Attorney in Baltimore, prosecuting people involved in this case, right?
You think it's all woven together, almost a semi-conspiracy to support...
You know, I lay at night and I thought, you know, first off, why would they appoint Rosenstein? Someone who was basically put in there by the Democrats, Barbara Mikulski. You know, put this guy. Now you're going to name this guy the Deputy Attorney General when the Attorney General has recused himself from this huge forest fire that's burning up his real estate, and you're going to put some guy in there that has no, you know, you don't have to put your brother in there like Kennedy did, but put somebody in there that agrees with the policies you're trying to put together. And then Rosenstein throws his hand grenade at you by naming this counsel, which was BS, and putting Mueller, who has a conflict of interest 20 miles wide, in as the job. And then later on we find out, you know, Mueller and all these people are sort of, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but it sure smells like one. And we've got all these major crime things bubbling, all of which were 20 times worse than Watergate, you know, and nothing seems to be happening. The Attorney General is either in a coma or I don't know what his problem is, but I mean, just the unmaskings of names alone is a major scandal. What's going on there? Now we've got the Intelligence Committee in the House playing, you know, goody-goody two-shoes with this guy that runs GPS, you know, the intelligence. Oh, why are we doing that with him? I mean, why is he setting the rules?
James,
the whole thing is nuts.
It's one question after another.
Yeah.
But you've laid it out very well. Come back soon, okay? Because I want more on this.
President Trump, peppered with questions on election meddling this morning, just said the feds ought to look at the Democrats and that phony dossier. Well, we know FBI Director Robert Mueller is looking into Mike Flynn and his possible ties to Turkey. We know he is looking into the Paul Manafort Ukrainian connection, but what about the Hillary Clinton-Russia connection? Wasn't Russia the focus of his investigation? On the phone now is former FBI Assistant Director James Kallstrom, who's been quite vocal about all this. Jim, let's talk about what we know about the dossier and the Democrats' involvement. We now know that Hillary's campaign hired Fusion GPS to get dirt on Donald Trump. We know that. They spent millions of dollars doing that. Second, Fusion was used by the Russians to put out dirt on Trump and specifically created the Trump dossier. So we know that. And third, we know that Hillary's campaign says now that they had nothing to do with Fusion GPS, even though its founder, Glenn Simpson, has a lot of history with Hillary Clinton and the folks in Little Rock, Arkansas. So what do you make of all this? I mean, is there a cover-up going on here?
Hi, David. Good morning. And let me just say, if you'd pass on a happy Marine Corps birthday to you.
Thank you so much. Semper Fi to you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course it's a cover-up, and of course Hillary Clinton lies. She's a pathological liar, David. I mean, she's lied her whole life. If you go back and just started, the shenanigans down at the Rose Law Firm, and the short tent she had on the Watergate committee hearing where she got fired for lying, and it just goes on and on and on. She's a pathological liar.
But Mueller's investigation is supposed to look into Russia. We have clear evidence that there's a connection between the DNC, the Hillary campaign, Fusion GPS, and Russia. Isn't that the sort of thing that Mueller's team is supposed to be looking at?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think the whole thing is disgraceful, quite frankly, David. I mean, without question, yes, a special counsel should be looking into these things. But this whole thing with Mueller, the way that Rosenstein, suddenly on his own decided to appoint a special counsel, and then appoints Mueller, and it turns out that, well, Mueller I know from personal history as a conflict of interest about 20 miles wide with Jim Comey. So, I mean, it's in violation of the statute that enables the special counsel. And it says a lot about his lack of credibility and his lack of ethics that he would even accept the post. So who knows what he's doing? I mean, it looks like he's just basically, following the breadcrumbs of this perpetrated fraud that the Democrats, Hillary Clinton and the rest of them have tried to, basically enable the duly elected president of the United States. It's 99% smoke. I mean, it's BS.
But if you're Jim, forgive me, if you're looking for a connection between Russia and meddling in the U.S. election, why not look at what Fusion GPS was doing with the DNC and the Hillary campaign in putting out Russian-made dirt on Donald Trump?
Oh, without question. I mean, it's like, David, it's like a giant in the woods that you kind of just walk by and don't see. I mean, it's pathetic. And then not only that, how about John Podesta? How about Podesta's brother? How about all the interest that they've had with Russia over the time? So if you want to look at Russia and the government or people associated with the government, I mean, they're looking in the wrong place. And are they going to indict a few people? Sure. Is it right what they're doing? I don't think so. They're not looking at the huge issues of the day, like the unmasking of hundreds and hundreds of citizens of this country. Benghazi. All the lying that took place. I mean, it's just pathetic.
Now, there's another former FBI director, James Comey, who's in the crosshairs because it seems like he really went out of his way to avoid any kind of indictment of Hillary Clinton. Now, one might say it's because he was afraid of interfering in the political campaign or whatever, but it's clear that he actually changed his language from language that would be an indictable offense to less so when he was looking into the various things she'd done with her emails. What do you make of all that?
Well, that's true. And, David, I've been talking publicly for about a year and a half on Jim Comey, who basically he went astray from the very beginning of this thing. I mean, when he gets a referral from the intelligence community, passed through the Justice Department that has a flag on it, that basically doesn't allow him to put people before the grand jury. I mean, right then and there, the whole thing is a farce. And I can only say what I would have done if I was the director. I would have stood up and had a press conference and respectively resigned because, anyone that knows anything about investigations knew that investigation was going nowhere. And the notion that Obama was going to let his Justice Department indict Hillary Clinton, it was crazy. But, I mean, this whole thing goes back to the fault of the Democrats putting up a flawed candidate that pretty much everybody in the world knew was flawed. and knew that it had this track record of deceit and lying and, getting money for certain things that they've done politically. So, Comey danced with the devil, and the music stopped. And here he was trying to backpedal and trying to perpetuate this fraud on the American people.
Jim, a very quick final question. Do you think, going back to the beginning, do you think that it's possible that Mueller may now be looking into Fusion GPS and whether or not there was a connection there between Russia and the Hillary campaign?
Well, all I can say about that is if he has any credibility and has any feeling about ethics and the rule of law, he certainly would be doing that with a lot of gusto, and I hope that's the case.
James Kallstrom, a great American and a great veteran of our armed forces. Good to see you, Jim. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, David.
Happy Veterans Day.